How about a pledge allegiance to the flag, and then we'll... Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the reorganization meeting for 2015 for the Eastchester Fire District. Can I have a motion to open the meeting?
I like that motion.
And can I get a second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Tonight's agenda, first on the agenda is, we're going to welcome Anthony Laurie as our new board member. Anthony comes from Tuckahoe, and he's been elected to the board for a 5-year term. So we welcome Mr. Laurie to the board, and good luck, Anthony, and thank you for volunteering your time.
Yep, welcome.
The next item on the agenda is we have to select a chairman for 2015, and so somebody needs to make a nomination or decide what we want to do with chairman.
I nominate Dennis Winter to be chairman.
I second it.
All righty. Any discussion? Okay, I'll poll the board. Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Napolitano?
Aye.
Aye.
And Mr. Laurie?
Aye.
And I'll say aye, so that's unanimous. Okay, and then we need a, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you for your support. We need to appoint a temporary chairman in the absence of the chairman. So I would like to appoint, if you could, Mr. Napolitano.
Second.
Aye.
And,
Aye.
and I'll say aye. Okay. Now we have board committees, and I need to find where I put my,
This?
no, my, that's what you have in your hand there. Okay. So in the past, and this is a good discussion point, in the past we appointed board committees, well, actually, I'm going offline here. I'm going to the schedule. Before we go to board committees, maybe we should go to the treasurer and then to board committees. So every year we need to appoint a secretary-treasurer, and John Molazari is currently our secretary-treasurer, who's done a phenomenally good job in that position. For those of you who are not familiar and not follow our fire district, we have about a $17 million budget. We have roughly 75 career employees, firemen. Total staff is probably 78. And we run a small business, by a small little local government that is not so small. Mr. Molazari works on a part-time level. He's not a full-time employee. And what he does for us is he does our all our finances, all our financing and accounting, and he produces every month about a 50-page document that is available for anybody who wants it. This document is a bank reconciliation. It shows where we are year-to-date on all our items. It's a complete executive summary package with granular detail about money transfers. So we get these once a month now, which is new since John has joined us. And they're quite extensive, they're quite good, and they're emailed out to the board on a monthly basis before the meetings. And he's done a fantastic job organizing that office, keeping track of the funds, reshuffling our bank accounts till we have none, and putting substantial procedures and controls in place. So before any bills get paid, checks get signed, the board has to review every bill that goes out, and we do. So the board tonight will go through all these bills, and they'll be pre-approved by the chief, and then by Mr. Molazari, and then we approve them after that, and then the checks get cut. So it's a substantial labor, and he's done a phenomenally good job, and I think it shows if anybody who has to deal with us now. I think it's very smooth and well run. So I would like to see John Molazari reappointed as secretary-treasurer for the year 2015. Mr. Morrow's hours will vary, but not to exceed $20 hours a week at an hourly rate of $85 an hour. This appointment will not include any contractual benefits or health care, except as deemed by law or regulation. So, and would somebody, I'll make the motion that we appoint John Molazaro. Would somebody like to second that?
I'll second it.
Any comment?
Point of information, that's the same, Mr. Chairman, that's the same rate that he had last year.
Same rate he had last year, and it actually,
How much did we pay him last year? Or what was the,
well, we can go right to our report, but
Okay.
it's roughly, it comes in at about $80,000 a year. Total.
Okay, with no
which-
benefits.
With no benefits,
Okay.
which is less than we were paying had we with all the benefits and prior before.
Okay.
So, now, his hours are less, I think his production is extremely high.
that's, I would concur with that. I just wanted to make sure that it was, that everybody knew at home that it's the same rate, it's not a raise, there's a cap.
Right.
And it's substantially cheaper than what we had before.
Substantially cheaper than we have before, but more importantly than the price of what we're paying is the controls that are in place and the information that's available. This year, our audit was filed with New York State on time, our annual filings to New York State were on time, and the auditors that plan to start their work in the next month, they're going to start, and we hopefully they'll be filing again on time.
Okay.
And the audits are more seamless now. So, all good. So, that was Mr. Baker, who seconded that?
No, I didn't second it, I just supported.
Okay.
I believe it was Mr. Napolitano seconded it.
Okay, so I'll poll the board. Mr. Laurie?
Aye.
Mr. Inkledon?
Aye.
Napolitano?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll say aye. Okay, so that's Secretary Treasurer. Now we have board committees, and I think in the past, we had a chairman, co-chairman, and we had 8 committees, and I don't know if we really need the 8 committees. One of the committees was communications, the other was grants, and the third was technology. As standalone committees, the thought process is we have 5 committees and then a goals committee where we elect projects to do this year, and then decide what projects as a board we want to work on, and then try to coordinate amongst ourselves how to do that. So I took a stab at putting this together. So the committees would be the Career Firemen's Committee, which is our standard committee, and then you have the Volunteer Firefighters Committee, the House and Apparatus Committee, Budget and Finance Committee, Health and Wellness Committee. Health and Wellness we need because of the collective bargaining agreement has a Health and Wellness Committee requirement. Generally, the chairman sits on the Health and Wellness Committee with one board member. And then we'd have a Project Coordination Committee. I'm going to run down the list and then look for feedback.
So just let's talk to this a little bit.
Sure.
So some of our feelings as commissioners was that some of these committees that have been around for so long are kind of stale, and we effectively would just sit up here and say, no change. So we feel that maybe if we just identify goals for the year, we can concentrate on those because those change every year, right? So we feel that this is a better way of addressing progress, I guess, moving forward for the department.
So, and for the board goal, for the board projects and goals committee for 2015, I would invite Mr. Laurie to be the coordinator of that, and as we.
Which one is that?
Oh, it's not on that little list there.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I had it on the agenda.
Yeah, it's the,
Projects and Goals Committee.
Right here.
Okay.
Board projects, etc.
Well, so what you do, we would coordinate with the other members of what we're working on.
There's this page right here.
Okay.
Okay, so, and then and then with the committees themselves, the different committees within that we do is, the Career Firemen's Committee, rather than have a chairman and co-chairman, it's just 2 members that are on the committee, it's just equal members on the committee. So it would be, for that committee, I would suggest Mr. Baker and Mr. Laurie
I accept.
to be on the Career Firemen's Committee.
I would be glad to work on that, but I also would be glad to work on the Volunteer Firefighters Committee also.
Yeah, we might have a little
don't think you can do that.
we might have a
That's what
question.
I'm saying. Before you put me on that one, I'd prefer to be on the volunteer
but it
firefighter.
might be
I don't think you can be on the volunteer committee because it's a conflict of interest. You're,
Well, Ray O'Hare was our volunteer representative, so was Ray Albanese,
Yeah, but
and they were volunteers.
yeah, but we're, for the next year, this year coming up or going forward, we're going to try to restructure the volunteers. And one of the things there is we need the volunteers to supply a lot of information to us, and we need to analyze that information that's coming in. And it would be better if somebody who wasn't involved was analyzing that information. So the idea is,
What was
the most prestigious, to be honest with you, Mr. Laurie, the most prestigious group on this list is the Career Committee. As far as typically, that was the committee most people would try to be on, would be the Career Committee. So I think the Career Committee is, since you have involvement in the fire service and you're familiar with the fire department, that sounded like a reasonable spot. And it's not a light committee, it's a very important committee.
I'm aware of that, but
I think it might have been prudent to discuss this with Mr. Laurie and amongst ourselves perhaps on these assignments.
Right,
A little
right.
bit beforehand, but,
we
Yeah.
have an executive session, and the chairman can appoint whoever, can appoint people where he wants. That's what he is. I'm just saying, I don't,
I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see your point, but
Yeah.
what happened was, busy through all the stuff, putting it together. The issue with Mr. Laurie being on the volunteer committee is an issue that it's not going to go away. I'm sure we're looking into the fact that,
answer me this then. Was it an issue when the other gentleman had volunteer experience and they were on that committee?
the problem we have today with the volunteer committee, with the
No,
volunteers,
I know what you're saying, I heard you, but was it a problem then when those gentlemen were on, representing the volunteers?
no, I don't think the board focused on trying to rebuild the volunteers at that time. Our goal for the board is to focus energy this year on the volunteers to try to make it more viable of an organization. And that's going to be the board's focus. And
One of the
one of the board's focuses is to make it a more viable organization. Now, the way we're going to do that is find out how their financing and how, just, so- it doesn't sound like much, but we believe the volunteer organization has anywhere between $4 and $6 million in the benevolent fund. It hasn't filed with the state in 3 years. So we want to just research that and find out what it's all about. And so I personally think it's better to have board members who are unaffiliated with it to do that homework. That's all. And so we're looking to have board members who are unaffiliated with the volunteer organization to do that research. But at the same time, we want to make the volunteers a more active organization. Mr. Laurie was at a fire just the other night. I was there as well. There was an active fire. Our men responded, did a phenomenally good job knocking down the fire. And while you're watching this at a 20-degree night, and Anthony he was there seeing it, it's a bitterly cold night. They had to stretch hose an extra block because there was no hydrants that were operating next to the house because they were frozen or not working. And it would be good to have volunteers help string that hose or roll up the hose or put salt down because the road got very icy and slippery. And so there's a lot of ground support that needs to happen. And if you had a volunteer corps that could do that ground support, it would be very important. And so I think you saw that as well as I did. So that's where we're going with this. And
One has nothing to do with the other.
well, sorry, we're not open to the public here.
I'm just telling you that way, the people here and people sitting at home. The Benevolent Association has nothing to do with the fire district.
Oh, I don't.
I disagree completely. I'll happen to disagree completely.
I'm just saying,
Okay, but we're not getting into that debate right now.
I'm just saying.
So we're just trying to do this organizational meeting and I think the assignments, and I should have printed a sheet, but I didn't because I was doing this last night at, 12 o'clock at night or something, so, as I'm doing a million other things. So I think if we go down the list, and let's just go down the list for the
Real
logic of
quick
it.
on that one point,
Yes.
just so that everybody's aware, and Mr. Laurie's aware also, the committees don't make decisions, and the board makes the decision. So obviously, his experience and his input would be valued and would be sought. I think what you're trying to say, though, is that there's, regardless of past practices, there's a potential conflict of interest to have somebody who's an officer in the volunteers and whatever the parent organization is called, having a committee membership. Is that what you're saying? So it's not that you're being not put on the committee by the chairman. It's, you're still going to have a very respected voice, and we want to hear your experience and your thoughts and all that stuff, and you'll have a vote. It's just, I think the chairman's trying to say that someone who has a leadership position in a particular area should not be on the committee because of the potential conflicts.
Correct.
Which is, in the case of Commissioner Albanese, I don't think that was the case, and neither was it with O'Hare.
I don't know, I mean,
I don't know. I don't know what their roles were in the volunteers.
When Albanese had it, yeah, he was just an active volunteer.
Okay, so let me just read down this little list here, and I made a mistake not printing it out and soliciting. So, Career Firefighters Committee would be Baker and Mr. Laurie. Volunteer Committee, Baker and Winter. House and Apparatus, Mr. Incledon and Mr. Napolitano. Budget and Finance, Mr. Incledon, it could be myself or anybody else, I'm indifferent. Health and Wellness, Mr. Napolitano, and myself, because I'm chairman, the chairman has to sit on that committee. I'm indifferent, but I do think I do have due diligence skills. I mean, that's what I do, is financial due diligence. So that's why I think being on the volunteer committee is important, because that's what I do, financial due diligence. And so,
I'm sorry, who did you say was the House and Apparatus?
House and Apparatus would be Mr. Incledon and Mr. Napolitano.
wasn't that last,
Napolitano.
is that last year's?
Yeah, it was last year.
Okay.
And then, Anthony, and by making you the board coordinator for all our projects, I think it gives you a front row seat. And was the idea. Now, we must be mindful as board members, as Mr. Baker said, a single board member cannot bind the board. A chairman can't bind the board. The only way the board gets bound is by resolution of the board. So that's very important. I mean, the board gives directives, and then that's what we do. But spending public money, taking action, is all by resolution of the board. Which is different than a village and a town. See, even sometimes when you deal with the lawyers, they'll say, can we do this? And I'll say, no, we can't do that because I'm not sitting as a board. I got to wait to go back to the board and ask the question. Because, where a local mayor can make a decision, a town supervisor can make the decision, they have authority to do so. Board members don't. So we're pretty strict on that because the liability is reasonably high, so we don't independently make decisions. Sometimes the board will give discretion to a member saying, you're allowed to do up to X, go get this done, and we do that at a public meeting and explain it. So, so the slate I proposed was, as I'll read it again, career would be Baker and Mr. Laurie, volunteer firefighter Baker and Winter, House committee would be Mr. Incledon, Mr. Napolitano, budget would be Incledon and Winter, and health and wellness, Mr. Napolitano and Winter, and with Mr. Laurie being the board coordinator for all our special projects. Do you have any, look acceptable?
Yeah, that's acceptable. I mean, the coordinator is a pretty good position. I mean,
Yeah, it's going to put a lot of work, that position, because it means you're tracking every special project that comes on the board, right? So
means you'd be
you'll be
in the
involved
loop
in
on
all that,
everything.
yeah, and involved on all that, too, so.
Okay, so any further discussion?
Same two committees I had last year, so I'm okay.
Excuse me?
Same two committees I had last year, so I'm okay.
Okay. So do I have a motion to this? More discussion? What do you want to do?
Motion to accept the committee list?
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I'll poll the board. Mr. Baker?
Aye.
Mr. Napolitano?
Aye.
Mr. Ingledon?
Aye.
And Mr. Laurie?
I with some guidance on the projects that I'm going to take.
No, we'll give you, I'll be as helpful as I can possibly be. You'll
Yeah.
find me as overly, I'll be giving you everything, if you need something, I'll help you
Thank
crank
you.
it out, whatever it
Thank
is.
Yeah.
Same thing here.
Yeah, any
And-
special
and-
project committee, would you, so just so you just so you're clear and you understand, any special project committee, any special project that is done, like let's say hypothetically, we decide that we want to buy a new hat, and there's a special project committee put together for that, you would also be involved in that and tracking that, okay? So that, and you can call up the guys and say, hey, what's going on, right? Because
Right.
what happened last year, just a little backstory, last year was a very good year, a lot of productivity, a lot of great things happened, but also a few things that we really wanted to get to, I don't think they got to for, not for good reasons. But if we'd had somebody like you or had somebody charged with this, you can call up and say, hey, because I see you how many times a month and the veteran stuff, right? Come up to me and say, hey, by the way, there's a meeting in a week and what's going on with the hat committee? Oh, geez, thanks, Tony, appreciate it. And hopefully it'll be better for everybody.
So as far as technology goes, Jerry's extremely helpful. As far as shooting documents around, getting stuff around, I think we're pretty good at helping you. We'll help you get that all moving along. The next we have is, we have a list of people we normally appoint for different positions on the board. And I would rather do this in just a few motions. We've already appointed our auditor for we call it 2014 fiscal year, even though we're talking about 2015, because the audit always looks back. They're going to do the 2014 audit that has to be delivered in 2015. So I'm just going to, their name is on here. We've already approved them last year, but it keeps it consistency when somebody years later looks at the run of what we did. So I look for a motion to appoint Fire District Counsel for 2015, the law firm of Coughlin and Gerhardt, Binghamton, New York. With the revised rate schedule, they basically raise their fees by about $10 an hour.
Oh, they do?
Where are they located?
Binghamton, New York.
Wait, we have no attorneys around here?
No, we have an attorney in Binghamton, New York. And that's purposeful. We did that on purpose. We find by using a law firm that specializes in municipal law, which they do, they have about 7 attorneys that do different parts of the practice, and you'll find that there is no local connection. They don't have any political connection with anyone here. They don't know a cousin or a third person or this one or that one.
Right.
So we get completely independent advice that is not filtered.
When do we see them?
Well, we'll see them, as we're going to have a hearing on February 5th in Brooklyn, and we'll be in Brooklyn with them, having a hearing with the union. We saw them a month ago when they came down for a hearing with a fireman. So they come down for hearings from time to time as we need them.
And we have to pay their traveling fee all the way from?
Yeah, they have a reduced rate for traveling fee. But the point is, if you look at what we've got accomplished in the last couple of years using the law firm, we've done quite well. We haven't,
Is that why we don't have a lawyer here? Remember, we always had a lawyer at our
correct.
meeting.
Correct.
That's exactly why.
That's exactly why. And we normally do, this is a good question. It's a very good question. What would happen in the past is, we'd always have a labor counsel, an outside labor counsel, who never came to the meetings, or he came occasionally to the meetings, and then we'd have an in-house lawyer. Between the labor counsel and the in-house lawyer, we had 2 lawyers we were paying for.
Almost on retainer.
Yeah, and so what happened is, one would say, I need to ask that one a question, or this one needs to ask a question, and Ernie needs to wait for this one and that one. So you you couldn't get crisp answers right away because they'd want to confer with each other sometimes on issues. And then if we, at the end of the meeting, which we didn't know when that time was, we would call up the lawyer and say, okay, here's our question, the labor lawyer. We've gone to the policy now of having our meetings at 7 o'clock. We go right from our meetings to executive session. We dial the law firm up, and we go on a conference call, and we go through all the items so we can come back into the board meeting and make decisions if we need to, not at the end of the meeting. Tonight's slightly different because we're going to go right to a regular session, and therefore, we didn't know what time we could tell the lawyer to be available. So it's going to be at the end of the meeting, probably closer to 9 o'clock. So, but yes, you will find out from like tonight, there was a question got posed to me about, can we get a special law passed for a fireman who's in the wrong pension plan? I emailed Cheryl, probably at 4 o'clock. She gave me the answer. I haven't got a chance to read it yet, but she responded back within an hour. Cheryl used to work for a state senator or something, drafting laws, so she quickly gave the answer. If it had something to do with a labor dispute, we would have another lawyer who'd give us an answer. If it had something to do with, Peter's dealt with them. They're extremely thorough, sometimes to the point of being too thorough, maybe. But we've so far...
It's technology today. I mean, I spent 45 minutes to an hour on the phone with Cheryl yesterday going over the contracts for our Tuckahoe project, the bid packages. And it was just easy, seamless, exchanging documents back and forth while we're on the phone. So I don't really see their location in Binghamton is really any downside in terms of our communication, interaction with them. I think it would be, just as good, the same as if they were located in White Plains.
And also, Binghamton, New York, people work slightly cheaper than they do down here. So it's all good. I mean, I think we've been very well served by them, and we have a number of issues in front of them. We have working out of a pile of issues in the last 2 years. We're getting towards the end of that, but there was a lot of issues we had to work through.
We've been able to share documents very easily. We have a drop.
And the other lawyers that worked for us before, that were around in the local area, couldn't do all this?
No. Maybe they,
Not during,
Maybe
I
they-
was standing on
Yeah.
board.
yeah, I think this law firm with its particular municipal skills is very good for what we're using it for. We're not going to people who do, negligence cases and that type of thing. These people are doing, not that those people are,
So noted.
but they're,
For the record, I do defense.
they're municipal attorneys. You'll see as you deal with them. The fellow we happen to use, Paul, what is Paul in the Air National Guard? He's or Army
He's a colonel, I think.
colonel, I think, in the Guard. So I'll introduce you to
And they
him.
have a wealth of experience that transcends the entire state. So frequently, we would say, well, what about this? And they would say, well, that's not the way it works, and this is what's going to happen if you do this, and, so it's been an eye-opener.
Yeah, they represent a bunch of neighboring departments.
Yep. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's how we actually got their name. They represent some guys up the road a little bit, but we can't actually say their name. 'Cause-
Right. Okay, so I would recommend that we use Colgan and Gerhardt. The auditing firm, which has already been retained, but it's SAXBST LLP. And fire district physician is Dr. Reddy. I'll just say Dr. Reddy.
Lokesh Reddy.
Lokesh Reddy. So I'd look for a motion to adopt those three, to appoint those three.
He wants to stay?
Yeah.
Dr. Reddy wants to stay? Okay.
He does?
Okay.
Okay,
Make the motion?
okay. Second?
I'll second it.
Second
Gotta leave faster, buddy.
was Stephen Baker. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So you're
Okay.
going to do it again now for the remaining appointments?
I'm just going to go through the next few appointments we have to do.
Are you separated them all?
Oh, no, I'm just going by the run I had last year. I didn't use this, I'm not using this exactly.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just using the,
I thought we were going to accept all the appointments all at once with...
okay, we can do that too if you want to keep on, I'll keep on going down then.
I think, well, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit better in this case because we have a new board member who's asking some very
Okay,
Yeah.
right, so we'll go.
good questions.
Okay, so a motion to appoint, Carmiello is our, from the Good Shepherd Church, is our fire district reverend, along with Father Clark from the Immaculate Conception Church, and we would like to reappoint both gentlemen for 2015. Reverend Maiello is a frequent visitor at the firehouses and fire scenes. He was, the other night during that fire, he stopped by and, likes to watch over. So I look for a motion to appoint the Reverend Maiello and Father Clark.
I make the motion.
Okay, so that's Anthony Laurie, and the second,
I'll second it.
Mr. Baker, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we thank both priests, the Reverend and the priest from Immaculate Conception for offering to do that. The next is our insurance company, is the Arthur Gallagher Risk Management as our broker of record. So I'd ask for a motion to appoint Arthur Gallagher Risk Management, White Plains, New York, to be appointed Fire District General Insurance Broker for the year 2015. They've been our broker for a number of years. And that means and Peter Inkledon. And second? Quit race. Okay, Anthony Laurie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have to make a local have a official newspaper. We can't use the local newspaper because it's not a daily publication. So in this case, I look for a motion to appoint the Journal News as the official newspaper for 2015.
As it's been in the past, I would make that motion.
It's always been, yes, Mr. Baker, and second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
And there was one other, I think, our newspaper,
Depository.
excuse me, and depository, and to appoint J.P. Morgan Chase as our depository for our bank account. Who wants to make that?
I'll make the motion for J.P. Morgan Chase to be our
J.P.
depository.
Morgan is Jerry Napolitano, second.
I'll second.
Peter Inkledon, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So everybody agreed on all the appointments. I would like to point out, there is a fireman's exam coming up. Westchester County is holding a fireman's exam. If anybody's interested or has a son, daughter who's interested in becoming a career firefighter, you need to go to the Westchester County website for Westchester County Civil Service, find the link for the fireman's exam, firefighter's exam, and it's a fee of approximately $100, Michael?
Yes, it's $100. It actually just went up this year.
It's a $100 fee. You can only apply online. They only take credit cards. This is not our doing. This is Westchester County's doing. So if you find that offensive, maybe like I do, that you can only use credit cards and you have to apply online, and they announced it the day after Christmas, and the cutoff date is December 26th, January 26th. I thought that was kind of wrong, and we'll mention it again at our regular meeting. But go online, fill out the application, and then the test will come up probably in March. So,
I also put the information on the Eastchester FD website then, so...
And for those scoring at home, be clear the fact that this does not get you on the Yonkers, New Rochelle, White Plains, or Mount Vernon departments.
right,
Those are separate tests.
Cities have their own.
Well, no, that's actually, Chief, the Peekskill, I think,
Well,
uses
city
it.
and the city of Rye, it actually will say towns and
Right.
villages and the cities of Rye.
Right.
White Plains, North Shore, Mount Vernon, and Yonkers
Are
have their own human
test,
resource
right.
and run their own exam.
And I think Peekskill uses this one also, right?
Yeah, I believe so also,
Right.
yes.
And they did have there was some chatter back and forth about if you don't have the $100, there's
But
a
it's definitely-
form of pauperous type of application, but I don't,
if
There
you're
are,
on public assistance.
right.
if you're on public assistance, there's a way of having the $100 waived. But just the fact that the county didn't advertise this ahead of time.
Absolutely.
And only gives you 30 days and announces it the day after Christmas, I don't think it represents getting the maximum audience to take that test. And we would prefer the maximum number of people taking the test. The larger pool for us to choose from in one of these testing environments is good. But that's not what the county was planning on doing, and that's, we don't administer it, they do.
Right, so and if you can't, and if you don't have a computer, you can't register, so
You
you
have
need to go to the library.
Yeah.
There is
Or
information.
knock on your neighbor's door.
I have printed information in headquarters if somebody wants to stop by the front office. I've distributed flyers, brochures to the community center down Tuckahoe and the three individual school districts. I've emailed all the information that was received. So trying to get the word out. They do say if you don't have a computer available, there is, it's on the brochure, I believe, that there is, up in Westchester County has a
You can go to
shared
their,
computer.
you can go to their
or-
office and use the shared computer.
Yes, you can use the computer there, or most libraries also have it.
I don't,
High school GRD.
Oh,
there is no age
good
restriction.
question.
Age restriction.
18.
High school degree.
No, 18 is the minimum.
Well, actually, you got to, the requirements are for hiring. To take the exam, anybody can take the exam. There is actually almost no requirement. You could be 15. You have to be 18 to be hired. You have to have a valid driver's license and maintain a driver's license to be hired and stay on the job. You have to have the high school education or equivalency to get hired. But pretty much anybody, regardless of age, is eligible to take the exam.
Which brings up another good point. How long does this list usually last for? or
There
last
are a standard 4-year.
4 years.
Well, you-
Four-year exam. The exam will be, I believe it's March 27th, at the end of
Jan
March.
26, don't confuse, just leave it, Jan 26 is your...
Well,
it's
the
8.
filing date. Exam is later, and it will be good. Like, this current list is expected to be valid through the end of the summer, by the time the results and everything get out and they establish a new list. But yes, January 26th is firm deadline. You must have your application in, and it has to be done on computer. And the fee is either credit card, or if you meet the criteria, there are, options available for those that may not have the $100.
So for those scoring at home, don't wait, because there's not going to be another
Oh,
test
don't
for
wait.
4 years.
Yeah, and if you've even just thought about a career in public service, but you're not committed at this moment to being a firefighter, it's a $100 option. That's what it costs to take the test, and if you decide 2 years from now, hey, this is the career for me, you'll have taken the test, you'll have your score, you can apply. And we are going to be looking to fill some positions over the course of the next,
Absolutely.
few years. We have.
And I've always, my first thought, I sent it out to the 3 high school principals, guidance counselors, I looked up the emails. I've always wanted to get it out to the schools, because you have a lot of seniors or junior, 17, 18-year-olds, this may be something they really want. And honestly, from a fire department viewpoint, you've got good, educated, strong kids or whatever, that's what you want. So the word's out there, hopefully they're passing around, because I think it is a very excellent opportunity, and...
And you can work with
hopefully
volunteers
they-
while you're on the list.
Right. Okay, any more comments for this? For this, we're going to end the reorganizational meeting, because this is one of those things in New York State town law required to have a reorganizational meeting, and then we're going to have a regular monthly meeting immediately following the closing of this meeting. Any comments for the reorg, or we just go right, do you want to go have a 5-minute break and then go into the regular, you want to just start the regular meeting?
I have no comments.
Yeah, I mean, if we're not going to
About
go
5
to executive
minutes.
session, just move
We're
on.
not, okay, so
I
we
make
don't
a
need
mo-
to
I
move-
make a motion, we close the reorganizational meeting.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
And we,
I make a motion, we open up the regular meeting.
okay,
So
what
it's
time do we,
7:55.
7:55, let me get my little sheet. 7:55, and that was close. Mr. Baker and Mr. Napolitano. All right, so we said around 8 o'clock we'd have our regular meeting. Here we are. Do we need another pledge allegiance to the flag, or we're good?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I would move that we adopt the earlier Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, so, ready? All right, so we are, make a motion to open up. Did you make a motion
I made
already?
the motion.
And was it seconded to open
No
up
one
the regular
seconded.
meeting?
I don't like you, I don't want to share with you.
So it was Mr. Baker. And Jerry, did you make the second on the opening the second meeting?
I will. I'll make a second
Okay.
to open this.
Jerry
regular.
Napolitano. All in favor of opening a regular
Aye.
monthly meeting? Okay, now we've already done this salute to the flag when we started the first meeting, so we'll move on. I have one set of minutes to be adopted. Good evening, welcome to the regular meeting of the Eastchester Board of Fire Commissioners. We just concluded the reorganization meeting, where we introduced Mr. Laurie as our new board member, and we thanked him for his service to volunteer on the board. And so now we're doing the regular meeting of the Eastchester Board of monthly meeting. So I have one set of minutes from the meeting of December 15th. Mr. O'Hare wasn't at that meeting. I emailed the minutes out to folks. So can I have a motion to adopt these minutes?
So moved.
Mr. Baker, can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so Jerry Napolitano, and Mr. Laurie wasn't at this meeting, so I would suspect yours abstain.
Yes, sir.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and Mr. Laurie abstains. Okay, perfect. So
Why these two?
tonight, since this is the first meeting of the year, I thought I would recap just quickly 2014, to talk about what we've done in 2014 and the progress we've been making at the fire district. One of the highlights of 2014 is our ISC rating. Is that it, ISO or ISC, Jerry?
ISO.
ISO rating has been reduced or raised to a level 2, which few departments in the country have. Mr. Napolitano emailed to everyone who's our Twitter list where we stand nationally, and I thought it was a very good email. It explained the process and how we stood and how it should reduce homeowners insurance if your carrier follows the ISO ratings. Jerry, you can elaborate a little more, but that was a big accomplishment in 2014.
Yeah, I mean, the department should be very proud of this. I mean, it's something that's only given out to 750 fire departments out of close to 50,000 fire departments in the country. So we're one of 750 of 50,000. So the chief should be proud of the staff achieving that. And hopefully this gives taxpayers the ability to get a reduced fire insurance premiums. I'd ask that you reach out to your insurance companies, make sure that they use the ISO rating. Most of them do, is my understanding. And make sure that they understand that in our fire district, there's overlapping zip codes based on what your taxing jurisdiction is. Because some insurance companies are just going to look at your zip code and give you a rate that way. Other insurance companies will actually look at your taxing jurisdiction and assess your premiums that way. So I would ask the citizens to do their due diligence, to reach out to the insurance company and make them aware that they are now in an ISO 2 rating fire district to get that reduced.
Okay, so that was a good thing. And then we've also produced a budget for 2015 over 2014, which lowered the spending for the fire district year over year. So that was, I think, a pretty good accomplishment for 2014.
So the taxes didn't go up?
The taxes are not going to go up in 2000, unless the certiorarities change dramatically, our taxes shouldn't go up we've spent less, we as a district spent less money in 15, are going to spend less, or tax money. We're going to ask for less money in 2015 than we did in 2014.
No, so
Right?
that's trending.
Am I saying
going
that
down.
right?
Yeah, it's not trending going up, it's trending going down, actually, even
Down
though
or
the numbers
flat,
are going up.
yeah.
I'd say more flat.
Flat.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the
But it's not,
percentage.
it's certainly not on the, yeah.
Okay.
And we stayed within the tax cap, and when I read the treasurer's report, I'll highlight a note that we got from the controller's office.
Okay.
So that was good. We also hired 9 replacement probationary firefighters. 8 of them are still with us. One has chosen not to stay on. But hiring people in a civil service process like we talked about the exam before is a time-consuming process for the board members. We interview the candidates. We had a long list of candidates. We had, I think, a very good venting process. I think it was very fair, and we ended up with, we think, quality candidates. And that was very time-consuming, and we hired, we offered out 9, and we got all the paperwork processed and background checks done and the health care forms done. And that was a lot of work got done by the chief to get that done and the administrative staff. You just don't hire a fireman. You have to file with Westchester County a whole series of documents. It all got done, which was excellent. We executed a mutual aid agreement with Westchester County, a formal mutual aid agreement. We asked the chief to manage within his overtime budget allotted to him in the 2014 budget that was created in 2013. That caused some, pushback, I guess is the right word, as we're implementing controls over budgetary controls. But the chief lived within his budget. Our budget came in within a few $1,000s of our number. And so that, from a fiscal point of view, we did a pretty good job managing ourselves. We closed out the final payments to Seaver Contracting for their construction job. We hired an engineering firm to redo the ramp in Tuckahoe, and they've given us plans to do that, and Mr. Inkledon will explain how far along that is. We've also put a temporary patch on that in 2014. We appointed the county an auditing firm for a multi-year contract, which is a new auditing firm we started using last year, and we did that for RFP the prior year. Simple things like appointing hearing officers. We've had a number of hearings we had to hold for due process, and we've had to appoint hearing officers. We've had to answer a series of litigation, which we've successfully done to this point. And we now are receiving all the money due us on an ongoing basis from the night shift retirees who have night shift insurance from us. So in 2014, anybody who had insurance was supposed to paid us to be current on their night shift. So we've done all that. We've also resolved simple things like standard workday inquiries from the controller's office. We appointed a fire department doctor. And so I think the board has done, even though we have a task list of more things we would like to do, we have done a pretty good job of doing everything we're supposed to be doing. And one thing we do pretty diligently, and the most important thing for us, is we review the bills. As you'll see all the board members passing the bills back and forth. Nothing gets paid for in this department unless it's reviewed by the board first and signed off by the board, unless it's contractual. So obviously the fireman's salary gets paid without us signing off on it on a predetermined schedule, but everything else gets reviewed by the board, and whether it's paper clips or engine apparatus getting repaired or a roof getting repaired, all gets signed off on the board. So we have a procedure in place now to process and to do our accounting, which I think is quite strong. So from a due diligence or corporate point of view, how this board is running, I think the board is functioning, or the department's functioning like a business enterprise it should be. If anybody has any comments, that's for 2014 while you're reviewing the bills, gentlemen.
No, I'm happy to do this. Been doing it for 3 years now, right?
Yep. So, Peter, any comments? No? So that's where we are on a year look back on 2014. I think we've done a reasonably good job. Fire Act, then I mentioned the firefighters exam for those who just turned on the TV. January 26th is the last day to get your application in to become a fireman. If you were thinking about becoming a fireman, contact Westchester County.
And go to our website, so all
And go to our, yes, Eastchester FD is the other thing we have done in 2014. It was there before, but our website contains all our YouTube, all these meetings are captured on YouTube, and there's links on the website, Eastchester FD, to go watch the meetings. So if you don't want to go to the local cable channel where you might be viewing this meeting right now, you can always go to your iPad or your portable device, go to Eastchester FD, and if you want to watch the meeting on that, it's there. And we have a category of meetings on it, so the library of meetings.
We're actually up to almost 2 years now.
2 years' worth of meetings up there, so.
How many have gone viral?
The most viewed was about 200.
Yeah.
It hasn't gone viral.
No, we haven't, but you can give us the opportunity to do that at any time. So, okay, Chief Grogan, your activity report.
Yes, sir. Okay, yeah, first, the month of December closed out the year. We had a total of 315 alarms, 8 of which were fire-related. Primarily, as usual, 160 were EMS and rescue. With that, the total for the year, for 2014, was back up. We were at 3,476 total alarms for the year. Slight increase from last year, but it's actually more in line with the average, so no big change there. Month of December, we did provide mutual aid on 2 occasions, but did not require any ourselves, which is pretty consistent. You know, that also, the total, like for the year, we go on more mutual aid than we receive. There is a complete report, but we gave mutual aid more, like 36 times, but received actually only about 9 or 10 times. So we give it more than we get. Once again, month of December, found, FD, very typical month of December, we get very involved with holiday events, and whether it's tree lightings or delivering Santa, the members, for the most part, everybody really actually enjoys doing it. And once again, I think we satisfied all the needs throughout the district. Fortunately, no major alarms in between. Fire prevention, as usual, closed out a year with another full month of activity. Full year's report will soon be available, along with the long list of regular inspections. He's been a lot busier this year, as we've had a lot of large projects come back online that were tabled during the downturn in the economy. And we have a lot of projects in place in the district, whether it's Tuckahoe, Bronxville, Eastchester. So they've got their hands full with that, as well as they continue an excellent outreach program between students and residents. They've increased the age that they reach. This they continue to build. And the reason I emphasize that was a big part of our, that was the key in our ISO rating going up. We picked up a good 10 points, but we just got into that too. And a big change with the ISO is what they calculate on. They actually put less weight on the water system, and now your public outreach, fire prevention is considered in calculating your rating. And I would like to, once again say thank you, Captain Pintaval, Thomas Pintaval, and Firefighter Vitorello, who have really made a nice impression with the fire prevention office. It's really their doing that we made that Class 2. As mentioned, newest probationary members. We started this group with 5, but we ended up with 4. They will be graduating the academy. That is on Friday, the 23rd. After that, we'll do about a week of orientation in Eastchester and some specific training, and we look forward to having them on the line, working in the groups and filling the seats starting February. With that, you also notice there's a little less break in between, but as they graduate, I'm going to be getting them into the next EMT course being offered in New Rochelle, so they won't have the break that the last class had over the summer, but they'll continue in their schoolwork, so to speak, and we got them going into the next EMT class. So as with all our members of the department, they will be EMTs. Of course, continue, spend a lot of time with the district councils, the law office, continuous personnel matters to be dealing with. I was going to mention a firefighter exam. I just to reiterate, there is hard copy. If you're not just up by 255 Main Street, there is information in the front office if anybody's looking for on the exam. I will just quickly mention the other evening, while it wasn't December, it's the new year, we did have turned out to be a small fire, but labor intensive. And I'll emphasize small fire because the reason our fires will stay smaller is because of the very aggressive and excellent work of the members on duty. We were also fortunate to have a full crew that night. Every seat was filled, which helped because it was really the first of the really cold nights, a lot of icing conditions, very difficult fire to find. It was between the first floor ceiling and the second floor traveling. They had a lot of opening up to do, but they got to it. It went no further than where it was burning when they got there, and Captain Tween and all the members of Group 4 did an excellent job. I want to thank them once again. As we often say, that's why we have more small fires than we do big ones, because it's the guys that are on duty that get right on top of it and to keep it small. I'll simply end, because you've touched on a lot of things already on what's going on past year, but I would simply end with, I want to congratulate our new commissioner-elect, Mr. Anthony Laurie. Fine job, the public for coming out, it's a decent turnout for fire district elections compared to other neighboring districts. We do get public's involvement, and congratulate you, welcome you aboard. I look forward to working with you, and I'll simply say I have to thank outgoing Commissioner O'Hare for his years of service, 3-term commissioner. Wish him well. But again, look forward to working with you, Anthony. Commissioner.
Likewise.
Sorry, Commissioner.
Mike, when was the rescue that happened in Bronxville? Was that in November or December that they were going to get the life-saving awards for the 3 members?
I believe that was early December. Captain Yazzo wrote a couple of members up. I'm sorry, yes, Captain Yazzo wrote them up. It was actually, very happy to say it was a successful resuscitation. It's my understanding that, it was actually a young gentleman, I think around 50-ish, not necessarily a resident, but he was visiting. I believe he's actually lived out on Long Island, and in a way, we might say, was fortunate. He was in the right place. Our guys were on the road and were on the scene within a minute or two.
Well, less than a minute. They were there extremely quick.
Went right down, started CPR, utilizing our defibrillators, put everything in place. They shocked them, and by the time the ambulance was transporting, they had an alert patient who I believe later, I'm not mentioning names of privacy things, but he did receive emergency bypass, and as far as I know, he's doing quite well. So, thank you, Captain Yazzo, and guys, Group 1, Eric Castillo, and I shouldn't say him because I'll get the names. We'll read it off.
Yeah, so that was probably the biggest accomplishment in 2015, right there, for the fire department.
We get a few of those,
We'll
but
get a
that
few of
one
those,
was...
but that was a good one. We also, on the other night at the fire that happened over in Bronxville Manor, the chief was talking about, EVAC, Tuckahoe Police, and Eastchester Police, both departments, did scene support, blocking off the roads in the area. And you also had EVAC. It must have had a crew of 6 or 10, at least 6 people standing by. They had 2 ambulances there, fly car, and because of the temperatures, it was a dangerous place to be. The ground gets very slippery. EVAC had a full crew, a couple crews, positioned for, if needed. So we should thank EVAC for their response, and the police departments, kept because I saw 3 cars on each intersection. You were probably closer to the scene, but there were 3 cars blocking each road around the area.
Yeah, so sometimes they park the car and then they leave, so I had to hop the curb and drive across the lawn to get to the scene.
But-
But EVAC, yes, EVAC is always on hand. We call out for EMS standby. It's actually a little different. I think they felt a lot colder than we did because we're running around working. They're just standing by, thankfully. That's a good thing because not needing them to actually treat one of the firefighters or a resident is a good thing. But they're there. They're always there. We call them, they'll show up with a crew, and they stand by. They stage. They have their gurney set, ready to go if need be, and we've always been able to depend on them for that.
Okay, so now we're going to move into Treasurer's report. Mr. Molinazari is not here tonight. In front of me is a 54-page report. We came in under budget last year. He has a few items we want to move money over from line items. He did want me to highlight a note that we received from the Controller's Office. We have reviewed your supporting documents and calculations of your tax levy limit and determined that your your tax levy for fiscal year ending in 2015 was materially within the allowable limits. So therefore, we were well inside the limits of, obviously, we didn't raise taxes, so it would be good. So the Controller's Office has accepted all our calculations and agreed that we were well within the limits. So Mr. Molzari supplies, as he does regularly, a copy of all the checks that were cashed for the month, a copy of a bank reconciliation for all the bank accounts, a copy of the year-to-date expenditures, where we are year-to-date on each line item in the budget, and a summary page. Now, I'll go to where he wants us to move to close out certain line items on the year. So with the following budget transfers are recommended for your approval. These transfers are made for the purpose of amending the 2014 budget to reflect and correct amounts that we either under or over budgeted and will bring the accounts in line. I'm just going to read down each to and from, and we'll do it in one shot. These are not large, from some of the past numbers, these are not large. From line 1989, spot 2, contingencies to retro pay, $12,246.19. From contingency, the same line number, to liabilities less than 12 months, $25,753.83. From the terminal leave line, which was line 3416, spot 1, to liabilities less than 12 months, $32,418.21. From the mechanic's salary, because we didn't have a mechanic last year, that line went unspent, or we would move the money over during the year as we needed. So as the mechanic's line, mechanic's salary, which was 3410, spot 17, $16,069.82, moving to overtime, $6,139.99. So we were over by $6,000 for the year only on our overtime budget from year over year on our budgeted projection.
So wait, he moved a percentage of?
No, he's moving 6,000, which is 6,000 out of roughly 600,000, so less than 1%, or 1%. So $6,139.99 to fire chief's salary. This is a retro pay item, $5,632.50, and to assistant chief's salary, again, it'll be a retro item, $4,297.33. One more, we're moving from MTA payroll tax, $10,834.68, to emergency equipment, which is going to be $7,833.01, and to physician/medical, $2,901.67. Those lines, that's how he gets to balance the different line items in the budget to be flat. So do we have a motion to that effect?
Motion.
Okay, Jerry Napolitano, a second. I'll make it Dennis Winter, second, first. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anthony?
I said aye.
Okay. Thank you. So that's the treasurer's report. And once again, John has done an extremely detailed job. And with having these on a month-to-month basis all lined up next to each other, it's easy for the auditors to go through. Plus, we have everything on QuickBooks as well that are actually proofed. So that's that. We have committee reports, but now the committees were reshuffled, but we'll just open up for discussion about the Career Firefighters Committee.
Give a quick report.
Sure.
Basically, and I'll fill Tony in on how we do, what we usually do. We generally were meeting, Jerry and I were meeting with Sean Stewart usually in the morning, and sometimes Tommy, yeah. It was a roving band to work out issues between the career guys and the board, concerns, that kind of stuff, they wanted to bring to our attention. Kind of put it on hold in December because of the holidays, some bad weather, and they had an election coming up. So we haven't had any current meetings with them since probably end of November. And everything was held in abeyance. We've been informed that Sean was not reelected as president. It's, if I remember, Ranelone. So
Yeah, Steve Ranelone.
Steve Ranelone. So we'll reach out to him and we'll get online and hopefully continue it. And I want to thank Sean for his service, and he's not retiring, but I mean, it was easy, dedication and pleasant to work with and easy to work with.
Now, you said you meet in the morning. Is it
Yeah.
early morning, late morning?
It's early morning. It's always a mutually convenient time for everybody.
Okay.
But because they're coming or going off of shifts or going on shifts and I'm going to my job, it's usually, and like Jerry was going to his job, it was usually somewhere around, say, like 8 o'clock in headquarters.
Okay,
All right? But we'll probably continue that, but we'll all get on the same,
okay.
all right? And that's the only thing we have for career. Unless you have
Yeah,
anything.
no, I thank Sean for his due diligence on that meeting and all the years that he's dedicated his time as president.
Yeah, Sean is always very straightforward, always very easy to do, Sean would always be very good about telling you what he's thinking about, but he always very straightforward and very, told you the deal. That was it.
And I've
So-
heard good things about his replacement, so we're looking forward to working with him as well.
So, other house and apparatus, Mr. Baker, there we go. Mr. Ingledon.
We're still in the comment stage on the contracts and bid packages for the project. We decided to go with a slightly more detailed contract, AIA contract, American Institute of Architects. So we're going through that right now. Timeline, we're still hoping to complete all the comments and finalize those contracts by the end of this month, and then hopefully put the project out for bid sometime in February.
Okay, and you're learning about how municipal governments function and do business.
Unfortunately, this particular project is a tweener. It's not so large to require most of the terms that are involved in some of these larger municipal contracts, but not so small that you really can ignore them altogether. So, for example, there was one section on construction reporting that literally had about 15 items, from recording the, high and low temperatures of the day to the number of contractors that were on site, at any given point in time, number of subs. It was too onerous for a job of this size. So we're going through now and coming up with terms that we think we're comfortable with for this particular project, but really, there's not too much work left to do on this.
Okay. On budget and finance, I don't have much to say other than the fact that we're going to have to figure out between now and June, I think, come up with a plan, a municipal sharing plan with Westchester County or somebody, maybe the Village of Bronxville, maybe Tuckahoe or Eastchester. There's a move afoot where there's a state law passed that municipalities have to find a way of sharing services with other municipalities. One of the problems we have is we are fairly efficiently run already. We are a shared service. We are 2 villages and a town in 1 fire district. We already use the county for dispatch, so we have 1 dispatch center. We use the county for our training, so we don't have we do in-house training, but we use the academy for the training. We use the county for cause and origin. We use the county for, we don't have a lot of duplicate services in the firehouse that we can easily say, okay, let's pair this up with somebody, and we are pretty efficiently run today to have a shared service, so we're going to have to find a way of creating a shared service with one of our municipal neighbors.
We also have the ability, the way the law is written, is my understanding, is you can communicate existing shared services that have saved you money over time, so like county dispatch, where in the past we had local dispatching. If we can come up with a dollar amount of savings of that, that would meet some of the requirement as well.
And if the municipality doesn't, there's a rebate system on your property taxes, and it'll affect that rebate system for the fire district taxes that you possibly could have got rebated. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but,
Very, very, very small.
yeah, it's very
If you're
small.
lucky, it could be $30.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I also remember looking at that list, a lot of this stuff, I guess, Eastchester as a whole was ahead of the game on this. Even years back, we used to have our own fuel pumps and tanks in the rear of headquarters for fueling our rigs. We joined forces with the town, and we went and shared purchasing, and we,
So those are things that we can already show.
yeah,
Part of our
Eastchester,
savings.
that was done years ago, before any of us were sitting here, actually. They were already doing that, rather than maintaining our own fuel pumps, and, we're purchasing with the town, we share the cost, we get a better price because of the bulk, and there's only one facility to maintain.
So there we go, strategic project.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's budget and finance. Health and wellness, we're,
Yeah, so we got ongoing meetings there. That seems to be progressing. Our last one was November 18th, I think. So we made some provisions there where we're going to be buying some new equipment, particularly a new riverboat, what are we calling it? Raft, I guess, for water,
Well, that still needs to be voted on as a whole, once we get
yeah.
some final numbers.
We're going to move
there.
forward, and we're going
Yeah,
to
I
get
mean,
some
that-
pricing on that.
Been looking at.
From a watercraft
replacing the
perspective.
existing.
Well, we have to get one, right?
Well,
But we don't know which one we're going to get yet, and we're
Correct.
looking into it, but it's not an option, we have to do this.
We have to do this.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's it. That was one of the main things about it.
okay. Anthony, if you want to mention anything about the volunteers, you're welcome to.
I think Tom will do that, but when this is over, I just have a few comments I'd like to say,
Oh, sure,
okay?
okay.
They're meeting tonight, right?
Pardon me?
Yeah,
They're meeting tonight?
Yes, the meeting tonight, due to the way the holidays fell, they couldn't meet, so they're meeting tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's why we can't be there, because we're here.
Okay, and we'll have, we have to discuss what our projects are going to be for 2015. We'll do that in a few minutes, okay? We'll move down to our next items for tonight's agenda. Westchester County supplied us with a AEP, which is a, basically,
Shared service agreement.
it's a shared services agreement, just like we mentioned before. And what they do is they charge us about $45 a person. Or our employee, whether referred to or not. Well, basically, if an employee comes to you and has a problem, whether it's substance abuse or a problem that you would need basically a human resources administrator to handle, that's of a personal nature. New York State law requires us, and I got the provision of the law earlier today, that we're required to have an agreement with someone to do this, and ideally another municipality that offers this service or a service provider that does. We've had this service currently in place with Westchester County for a number of years. It's worked extremely well. It's not something we use often, but there is times it is used, and we don't know who's using it. They don't, it's private. So, but it's a service that we think is valuable, and we're glad the county offers it. So here's the agreement that we're going to have to get notarized and signed to, so I'd ask for the board to authorize the chairman and the chief to execute this agreement with Westchester County for a EAP agreement, which is Employees Assistance Program.
yes, and it's important that 45, it's up a few dollars. This is a renewal, it's a multi-year. The 45 is per person, per member for the entire year.
Right.
It's not like a visit, it's a...
No, it's a,
And, I've heard indications, or I've gotten indication that it may be used more than you even realize, because this is something that's there available for the membership
and family
Just-
members.
and their family members, that they can go totally, on their own, there's no disclosure, they should feel free. It's some place to turn to. It's a service provided, it's part of Westchester County, and we've joined in, it's a shared service that we pay what I believe is a very small fee for the service that's provided to the membership. And it's there available for us if we have an issue with somebody to refer the member to. So it's two things, so.
And I wasn't planning that segue into shared services, but it worked out well. So I'll have a,
It's also
can I have a motion to approve to execute this agreement?
Make that motion.
Mr. Baker?
I'll second it.
Jerry Napolitano? Okay. Mr. Laurie? Aye. Mr. Inkland? Aye.
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 And I'll say aye. So that's our shared services agreement put to bed. Okay, the next announcement is the board is issuing an order to, we've decided this at the last month's meeting. We held off on, we gave the chief the notice at the year end. The Howe firehouses, which, and this wasn't a segue either, this was just coincidental that I'm going there. We're going to have alcohol-free firehouses, which they currently are now. But there is times that there are, legacy things of like a volunteer bar would be in one of the firehouses or two of the firehouses, or the career personnel would have their monthly meetings and occasionally serve beer. We don't want any alcohol served in the firehouses for the obvious reasons. So after discussing this last month with our council, and we approached the subject with them, they just kind of gave us this idea, like, why are they there? In true volunteer departments, like in a lot of rural areas, they have, it's a fairly common practice, but it's not a practice that we would think is a good idea in an emergency service house. So we think emergency services houses don't need to have alcohol in them. So,
Then that means, Commissioner Winters, if the firehouse is rented out to any civic association, there's no alcohol beverages also, right?
they're gonna, well, we'll have that discussion, but they'll have to have some liability insurance to go with it. They'll have to have
Well,
a,
if we say alcohol-free, that means to everybody then.
yeah, that's what it means now,
And
yeah.
that means to outside
Yeah.
civic associations.
Yeah, no, the problem, and the council will explain it to you, if somebody comes and drinks on your property and then they leave and get into a horrible accident,
I'm aware
we're
of that.
absorbing the liability.
I've been bartendering for 36 years, I know what you're talking about.
Yep. So that's the reasoning. And all you need to do is watch the news in the last couple months and you'll see what the focus point is.
And the other,
That's the way that I took, I'll call it the memo that you sent to me, the order, and what I've put out, I'm gradually spreading word. I provided a hard copy for the VOFA meeting tonight. I explained it to the representative. The idea is that they will be completely alcohol-free for any function, meetings, a special,
That means-
you used to have the parties in the firehouse, those days are fading away anyway, but no alcohol, and I also said not even for storage. We want the properties, that's how I took that memo.
Correct.
Completely alcohol-free property.
Correct.
And that's how I was going to do, okay.
if somebody's going to have a party, it's done outside of official fire district business, and they would get liability insurance. So,
We have very few,
No, then you're setting a precedent for something. You're saying that if an outside organization wants to come in, they have to get insurance and they could have liquor?
they can.
well,
Well, then
Well, that's if we decide that's acceptable as a
Yeah,
board.
why don't we do that on a case-by-case basis?
that would be, that's what I was going to say, it's case by case. Honestly, we do make some of the fire station available for certain groups, just like Civic Association, it's their meeting place. But honestly, they're not alcohol-type parties.
No,
The
I
children
understand that,
events.
but we should
We really don't,
specify it to them.
but we don't. See, people would have to request using. We don't rent the fires, like you mentioned,
No,
rent,
no,
we
I
don't.
know
We do allow certain groups, as long as they provide liability coverage, naming us as insured, we'll let, TYA use it for some coach meetings or something. We're not in the habit of allowing parties from outsiders in the fire department. Our firehouses no longer, little by little, they're being changed to be more for full-time firefighters. The meeting halls, the bars, they're pretty much all gone. If somebody were to request to use it, that would be a board decision anyway.
That's the way, I know what you're saying, Chief, but I would say, I don't care who rents it out. civic organization.
But again, we
anybody.
really,
We'll keep it,
we haven't been in the habit.
No, we haven't,
We don't
but-
rent out fire halls.
we're not gonna let anybody have alcohol beverages, then that goes for any
That's the intention.
organization.
That's the
That's
intent.
how I took the, that's the
If it turns
intention.
into a problem, we can address it then, but right now, we think it's safer for the fire district, safer for the taxpayers, not to have alcohol in the firehouses. There's no good thing that comes out of it. It's just like smoking got banned a few years ago, and people are just getting more liability sensitive, and
Okay.
we're probably just catching up to where other people are a while ago. Okay, other business tonight, I'm just have this in order that I printed down there. We have to appoint a hearing officer, and this is to do, there's basically a dispute between a former employee and the district over the compensation been paid on a 207A2 claim. That is a disability claim. And so, Mr. Baker, would you like to read this resolution? So we're going to appoint a
But you had
hearing
it to me
officer, and the hearing officer will make a determination based on he'll be an independent fact finder.
Okay, resolution, whereas the Board of Fire Commissioners of the Town of Eastchester Fire District notified retired Fire Chief Keith E. Fennelly, hereinafter referred to as Fennelly, that he has been overpaid benefits under Section 207A2 of the General Municipal Law and seeks to recoup said overpayment. Whereas Fennelly demanded a due process hearing into said overpayment. Whereas the Board of Fire Commissioners of the Town of Eastchester Fire District wishes to appoint a hearing officer to conduct the hearing and to render a report and recommendation following said hearing. Whereas the Board of Fire Commissioners of the Town of Eastchester Fire District has reviewed the extensive qualifications of Mr. Alfred Cava of Ridgefield, Connecticut in the relevant cases of General Municipal Law Section 207A and Labor Management Relations, and finds Mr. Cava highly qualified to hold the position of hearing officer in this matter. Whereas the Board of Fire Commissioners of the Town of Eastchester Fire District, having reviewed the qualifications of Mr. Cava and his per diem rate, wishes to appoint Mr. Cava to serve as the hearing officer who will conduct the informal conference and render his report and recommendation. Now it is resolved as follows. Board authorizes the hiring of Mr. Alfred Cava of Ridgefield, Connecticut to serve as the hearing officer and to render a report and recommendation relating to the overpayment of General Municipal Law Section 207A2 benefits to retired Fire Chief Keith E. Fennelly at the per diem rate of $1,200 per day, inclusive of reasonable travel expenses. Resolved, this resolution is in effect immediately. I will make that resolution.
Okay, and just so, Mr. Laurie, I know you haven't been here to discuss this. We've discussed this prior in executive session. So you may want to abstain if you're not that familiar. I'll give you a copy. Mr. Cava's bio has been circulated to the board by email in the past, so people are familiar with Mr. Cava. And he will end up making some recommendation one way or the other to the board, and then the board can either choose or not to choose to adopt that recommendation. Is generally how it works. That's how the process works. In the past, we've had a few years ago a dispute in a similar manner, and we appointed a hearing officer and then a different hearing officer in that case, and that's how it's done. And the board doesn't have to make a determination. It just reads the fact finding from the decision of the hearing officer. So, everybody got
The resolution.
Mr. Baker makes a motion. Stephen Baker, do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
And Peter Inkledon. Okay, first, second. Okay, so I'll poll the board. Mr. Baker?
Aye.
Mr. Napolitano?
Aye.
Mr. Inkledon?
Aye.
And Mr. Laurie, you want to abstain, or you want to
Abstain.
abstain? That's fair, because you weren't around for the discussions, and I'll say aye. So I'll appoint Mr. Cava. Okay. Discussion on fire hydrants. I'll start this, and you want to finish it, Jerry, or you want to start it, or?
You can start, okay.
Okay. So there was a recent change in New York State law about a year ago, where local municipalities could have the cost of the fire hydrant placed on the bill of the property owner being all property owners, including those who are exempt because they're not-for-profits or they're exempt from paying local property tax. So the concept was that if you share, if the hydrant cost has to be shared amongst all property owners, it'll include everyone in that taxing municipality. The municipalities had an option to pass it on to the homeowners for direct billing, or pass it, or continue to pay it through the local municipality's tax bill, which meant only the owners of taxable properties were paying it. So municipalities like the Village of Bronxville and the Village of Tuckahoe passed local resolutions to advise the water companies to bill the homeowners directly, or the property owners directly, or the businesses or whoever the owners might be, to bill them directly, not to bill the municipality for the hydrants. So I think Bronxville might have 180 hydrants. So that bill for the 180 hydrants gets spread out among all the people in the Village of Bronxville. Tuckahoe, with their number of hydrants, gets spread to all the members of Tuckahoe. The town of Eastchester has chosen not to adopt a local law passing the bill to their property holders, which comes to a slight dilemma for us. The second thing that happened with United Water started this billing process, and Jerry will explain that in a few minutes, and they made a series of errors in their billing process, so it created a lot of confusion in the town of Eastchester. Bronxville residents and Tuckahoe residents, your billing for your hydrants will show up as a new code on your water bill called
Municipal Protection Surcharge.
Municipal Protection Surcharge on your water bill. So you'll see
Maybe
that,
abbreviated, just the letters.
and it,
MPS, yeah.
yeah, M what?
MPS.
So if you see MPS on your water bill, if you're in Bronxville and Tuckahoe, that's what that's for. Here's where it's going to become interesting for the fire district from a fairness point of view. And this is, I don't know if I explain things so well, but I'll try to explain this. The fire district receives its taxes based on your property tax from the Eastchester tax roll, not the Bronxville Village tax roll, not the Tuckahoe tax roll, but the Eastchester town-wide tax roll. So Eastchester has its own town-wide tax roll. It might have been updated last in 1941 or 42. It was early 40s that it was updated last. Bronxville has a tax roll that gets updated every couple of years. Eastchester has a tax roll that gets up. Tuckahoe has a tax roll by itself. I believe Tuckahoe uses Eastchester's tax roll for its village. The Eastchester portion, which is the non-villages of Eastchester, there's a separate tax roll for that part of the town. Doesn't include Bronxville or Tuckahoe. I'm putting some people to sleep, I see. So what happens when we get your assessment for the fire district, your assessment's coming off the town-wide tax roll, because we're providing the services evenly to 3 different communities. There may be make more calls in Bronxville one year, or more calls in Tuckahoe one year, or more calls but it's spread out evenly amongst the 3 communities. If the 2 communities, Bronxville and Tuckahoe, are being billed privately from the water company to the homeowner, and Eastchester is going to come to us and say, here, pay our water bill, we don't know if that's fair, and we can have the board discuss it. We don't know if it's fair that the town-wide tax assessment is being used to pay an Eastchester bill. Just like the Bronxville residents don't pay for the Eastchester police, Tuckahoe residents don't pay for Eastchester police, why, if we pay the water bill, will we end up, the Bronxville Tuckahoe residents will be subsidizing the Eastchester water bill? So, in the past, there was a percentage sharing agreement, but I don't know if that's going to work under this new regiment of the homeowners paying the bill. So it comes down to you have to have a pretty good understanding of how the taxes are assigned in Eastchester, which is getting into the weeds a little bit. But it's going to disenfranchise Bronxville and Tuckahoe. You're going to be funding the Eastchester. Now, the number we're talking about here for the fire department usually reimburses the town of about $100,000. It's $120,000, $130,000. We used to reimburse the Village of Bronxville about $80,000. we're not going to reimburse the village anymore of Bronxville. So that's the conversation, and we'll communicate with the town and say to them, how do we resolve this? In our mind, taking that and charging it to the Eastchester tax assessment is probably more fair than us paying it from the town-wide tax assessment. Does that make any sense? Did I explain that?
So,
I understood it, but I've read
So-
it 4
so-
or 5 times already.
Right.
so basically what it comes down to is that the taxes collected for hydrants in the town of in the town of Eastchester will not be subsidized by taxes being collected by Tuckahoe and Bronxville. So the taxes collected should only stay within the town of Eastchester. The municipal surcharge for the residents in Tuckahoe and Bronxville that gets pulled out of your water bill will pay for the hydrants for those two villages. So if you're an Eastchester resident, you should not be paying the municipal charge on your water bill, because you're already getting that pulled out from your tax roll from the town of Eastchester. If you're a resident of Tuckahoe, you should be paying the surcharge, and if you're a resident of Bronxville, you should be paying the surcharge on your water bill.
Yeah, and now, we're only talking about 28% of the town, the town used to ask us for 28% of their hydrant bill, or 35%, one or the other. 20, okay,
20, no, you're right, the first time.
28?
Yeah.
Was, the town used to ask us for 28% of their hydrant bill, and we would pay it to them. But now it's hard to know if we might have to write the controller's office and ask the controller's office, or with ORPS, is New York State Office of Property Management, or whatever ORPS stands for, but that's the New York State Office of Property Assessment. They may be able to help us. We just don't want to be, we want to be fair to everyone and have a fair distribution. So that's just a discussion that's going to happen
In the coming months, yeah.
in the coming months. So that was that. We did the resolution, we did that. Trying to think what else I have to go here. We have, we received a letter from the supervisor regarding our meetings. We're thankful for the Village of Bronxville for letting us hold our meetings here. We've held our meetings here quite regularly now. We also hold them at the firehouse from time to time. I just make a comment that we held 16 meetings last year, and the year before that, I think it was 22 meetings about. Our goal is to have a meeting a month, and then during the budget season, we have to hold a couple because we're required to. So we're required to have about 14 meetings. So we received this letter, and but this Village of Bronxville happens to be very good, and their room next door is excellent for us to meet in, and it's the only drawback here is we can't record the meetings live because we don't have town-wide broadcast here. We only can broadcast within the Village of Bronxville live if we choose to. And then they have to copy the disc and get it to the town. And the other option is we take these meetings and we put them on YouTube.
So we had a discussion about this. I think we can speak to, we kind of polled the board on what we felt about this. So right now, the town will only allow us to have meetings in Eastchester Town Hall 4 times a year. That is also the only location that live broadcasts can occur throughout the 3 towns, Bronxville, Eastchester, and Tuckahoe.
Or Handle Field.
And Handle Field, but we can't have a meeting in Handle Field. So those are the only 2 locations that can simultaneously broadcast across Verizon, Fios, and Cablevision. So that being said, we felt that it's a lot better to be consistent in our location and be open by having the video available on YouTube rather than people figuring out, am I going to watch it live? Is it going to be live this week? Is it going to be live next week? It would put out an inconsistent message to everybody. So we want to get into a consistent cadence of the fact that people will be able to see it through a recording and at any time on YouTube at their own convenience, rather than having to do some guesswork on whether it was going to be live or not. So we probably won't be meeting in the Eastchester Town Hall in 2015, as it stands right now.
What happened to the deal was that we took it out of the firehouses years ago, and we were going to rotate it to the 2 village halls and the town hall, and maybe come back to the firehouse after the 4th meeting. What happened to that deal?
Now, see, the problem is we were meeting a lot in Town Hall. We were having all our meetings in
Right,
Town Hall.
but then we were rotating to Tuckahoe and Bronxville.
We tried,
We were always in Eastchester, so we were keeping that consistent
Jerry,
location to the
we
press.
would
Before you
have,
came on the board.
I'm talking about when I was
Yeah,
on board.
I know, but I'm saying.
And the
It was
3
always.
years before I was on the
It was
board.
always in the Waverly Firehouse, then we moved it to the Chester Heights Firehouse, then the board decided to rotate it through the town hall and the village halls, so the public could come to see it and come to attend the meetings there, because they said the firehouses weren't bringing any public out. And we did that for a little while, and then that rotation stopped. Am I correct, Dennis?
no, we were using the Town Hall predominantly. If you go back and
Yeah,
look at,
but I'm saying when we first started that thing,
you're going back probably 15, 20 years.
well, that's, like I said, when we took it out of the firehouses, that's how we started it, and.
Was it
we-
public access back then, or was it just?
No, I think that is, Anthony, I think you and I have around a lot longer. You're talking pre-public access, before local cable
Yes, before
TV.
even television started that, but then the TV came on, and I don't know if it was live in Tuckahoe and Bronxville at the time, but we did rotate it that way, Chief.
Right, but that was back when it was like usually upstairs in Chester Heights, but when the cameras came out and
Yeah.
sunshine laws and everything, it got opened up. Actually, that dates back to Mr. Walsh, who was showing up and, getting everything out of the back room, so to speak.
Right.
So,
And out to the public. And for years, we met consistently, we used Town Hall, which
Yes,
was
'cause
a good facility.
They said it wasn't working out, moving around, and everybody was pretty much set
It
going
had
to
to do
one
with the
place.
cable, the
Yeah.
access, being able to videotape and do it live. There was at one point when it first started, they actually started to bring in a live feed cable to
okay,
headquarters.
let's go to where we are today.
But it never, they said, no, they'll do it through the 3 municipalities.
Mike, let's just do where we are today. Here we are today is, when the town decided we could only have 4 meetings there a year, and we're holding roughly 20 meetings a year, it meant that once a quarter, we could go to the town.
Right.
The town, after we kind of needed to find another place, the Village of Bronxville Mary Marvin offered that we could use this room. This room is actually ideal. It's very comfortable. I don't know how, it's just probably as comfortable. It always has good air, it's got, heating system's great, it's well-lit.
Well, we can have
It has plenty
executive
of
session.
parking.
We can't have it in Eastchester.
And it has a nice room for executive session, which Eastchester actually doesn't have for, when the board visits there, there's not a comfortable room for executive session. This is, the largest drawback we have here is the townwide broadcast, which is just delayed. The residents get it, it's just on a delay. So consistency is important. I mean, I think it's good for people to know where we're going to hold our meetings and when we're going to hold our meetings. And with the advent of YouTube and putting these meetings up on YouTube, if anybody wants to watch one of our meetings, it doesn't take much effort for them to find our meetings either on YouTube or on the cable channels.
Actually,
Okay, so now I just wanna
if you
ask-
Google search, it'll show right
I
up.
just want to ask and let the public know that we're going to be here then from now on.
We're going to be here unless the village is busy and we're unable to. And then we occasionally will meet in the firehouse. Ideally, we could fix a room up in the firehouse, but then we're spending money and it defeats the shared services kind of idea. So that's what we are. So, okay, now, the next item, as I move down the list here, is the status of the FOIL request for the Volunteers Association. We sent a FOIL request to the Volunteers Association, with similar request went to the Benevolent Association. We haven't heard anything back from either one of those 2 organizations. Local 916 report, do we have anybody? No one's here from Local 916. What I'll say there is we thank Sean for his years of service. He dedicated a lot of time and effort. He was a strong advocate for his membership, an extremely strong advocate for his membership, and thank him for his passion and his time doing it. And we welcome Steve Ratalone, the new president, and he also has a new, I don't know, sure their titles, is firefighter, Who's the,
Firefighter Costanzo took over.
Trustee?
That's trustee position, okay, thank
so
you.
we have there's a new trustee as well, and so we wish them well. Did you have a 9, you didn't have a 916 report, right? No. So,
Sure.
so we wish them well and thank all of them for their service. Their service is near volunteer service, what they do, for the time they put in and how they're compensated in doing that union role. It's clearly they do it for the love of the membership. I don't have any more, there's no volunteer firefighters report?
Just like to wish the board a Happy New Year. I'd like to congratulate Commissioner Laurie and wish him good luck in his future as a board member. I'd like to thank him for being our past president. I say that loosely because I don't believe he has resigned. I haven't been at the other meeting yet. But we'll have another election.
Letter was written of resignation.
All right. I kind of figured that, but I wasn't 100% sure. So there'll be an election to have a replacement and so on and so forth. I just want to mention, right now, we are in the planning stages. 2015, we have 3 volunteer members, 50 years of service. We're planning their honorary chief celebration or inauguration for the spring, so that'll be
I think it's,
worked on.
I think it's the second Sunday in April, Tom, that it's booked.
Yeah, it's in, well, I'll get all the details. I don't want to mention the date just in case I'm wrong, but it'll be forthcoming. The other thing I just wanted to mention, since you were talking about fire hydrants, on Tuesday evening, people discarding trees. I was driving south on 22 down to Station 4, south of Tanglewild, just north of Fordall. A hydrant on the right-hand side had a tree on either side of it, totally blocked from view. So if an apparatus was coming north or south, you wouldn't have saw the fire hydrant. And the other thing I want to bring out, now that the forecasters are all, we got cold weather, and now they're talking moisture and snow, I would just ask all the residents who have landscapers or people that plow their property not to block the hydrants, try to keep them as clear as possible. Everybody helps in fire protection.
Yeah, and your point is excellent on the trees, because if you get any snow when that tree is laying next to a hydrant, it's covered over, you'll never find it because it'll be an instant snow mound.
Yeah, it'll look like a snow mound, and then you can't see the hydrant either way.
Right.
Can you just,
Thank you.
before you step down, we know who you are, but the people at home might not, so could you identify yourself and your position?
Oh, Tom Fishing.
Okay. Yeah, we know you, but for those scoring at home.
Thank you. I have board member comments next, but I think we'll go opportunity for public to speak.
Yeah.
And then we'll do public member comments
Did
last.
everybody review the bills?
We're going to do the bills next, right after board member comments.
This way.
Did you guys all go those bills down this way?
Oh, I saw them.
You weren't done yet. You
Yeah,
got more
there were
bills.
2 piles. Oh, 2 piles?
There was 2 piles.
What do we look at?
You can figure out which one you looked at first already. That's the quiz.
I know. That's why we're-
Any comments from the public? Mr. Andres?
Commissioner. John might represent you.
Tom Andrus,
We asked him, he said no.
Shady Lane.
Yes.
I do have a question for Commissioner Inkledon. Was, just, could you clarify the test that's being given? Is this a civil service exam for any civil service position?
Not any, it's just.
No, this is,
Firefighter.
Yeah.
would you like me to, yeah.
You want to take it, Mike?
Yeah, this civil service run through Westchester County, this is specific for firefighting. This is the firefighter's exam being conducted. It's actually statewide. You know, the state actually supposedly decides the date, but it's just strictly for firefighter.
Okay, and it won't be given for another 4 years?
They usually run, the list will usually run for 4 years.
Or the candidates that they get out of this, you mean?
Yeah, no, more than likely, unless something terrible was go wrong, you won't see this opportunity for another 4 years.
Thank you.
So any department that's hiring over the course of the next 4 years that uses this list is going to be drawing from this list.
You also have to realize this is a countywide
It's just fire departments. just,
Yeah, and it's not just Eastchester. So if you take the county firefighter's exam, you can qualify to be on another fire department besides Eastchester. So you could get called from Scarsdale if they don't have a residency requirement. You could get called from anyone in the county except for basically the cities. The cities generally run their own exams. This is the smaller departments will generally hire off the civil service list if there's no local residency requirement. We have a local residency requirement, which we may want to review. There, you have to be a resident when you sit for the test and when you get hired. You can move out of town between hand, but you have to be a resident when you sit for the test within 30 days, I think, and when you come back, when you get hired 30 days, you have to be a resident. Other than that, you could have moved to California and came back in that time frame and still have qualified still qualified.
thanks very much.
Okay? Okay, now we're reviewing the bills. And so is there any other more discussion? We have to talk about our goals for a minute for 2000 and, now, this is going to sound like deja vu to some people. Last year, the ramp in Tuckahoe, we're in the process of doing, that's going to be one of our goals. Hire an engineering firm to analyze the physical condition of the firehouses and develop a long-term plan. Do we?
Budgeted the money for that.
We've budgeted the money for that, which I should have mentioned earlier. Standardized fire training, all groups should be trained to one standard or SOP. That was one of the last year's ideas. And analyze the configuration of the phone and the internet to effectively, try to effectuate some cost savings. We use a number of direct lines, and I took a stab at this for a bit, trying to get Verizon, and it was virtually impossible to untangle this mess. But we need somebody to figure out our phone systems, our direct lines and our ring-down lines, and then try to increase the volunteer firefighter activity and readiness. So those are the 5-item bullets we had for last year. Is there additional bullets you gentlemen have here, or do you want me to repeat them again?
Shared service.
Shared service has to go on there. And we think more, we'll just add them on, but this is generally what we're going to try to strive towards. And that's where we are. And right now, we're just reviewing the bills.
Well, we could talk about it. 2 of them, I don't want to pay.
Well, I don't want to pay any of them, but,
One of them is the hydrant rental for $35,000. The other one is the Union Optical for $46,000. There's no bill, so we can't pay it.
Oh, there should be
There was
a,
No bill.
There was a breakdown.
There's a breakdown, but no bill.
I think that's, oh,
There's no insurance bill with it. It's just an email that says, please pay.
oh, no, it's part
the
of the
optical?
contract.
That's contractual item.
Contractual, as long as they provide the
It's
name.
per member. They've provided a list of
I
all
thought
the
we were going to have
members.
the bill.
That's a dental. You're thinking of the dental.
Both of them.
No, it's the CBA. You can grab your little, go check up the CBA. CBA is optical per member.
okay.
The dental was
So in other
a,
words, so the optical, okay, so I'm wrong, you're right. So the optical is basically a stipend
per member.
that doesn't have a policy associated to it. But the dental has a policy associated
The
to it.
dental was a number that we were curious about.
Right, so okay,
last
so
year.
that's good to pay, because that's a stipend.
He'll pay his own dues.
Correct, provided all these members are still employed here, and I'm sure they are. I'll just take a quick look down and see if we're missing anybody here.
Maybe they did. Where did I look at those?
Yeah, I know, I'm from the one top.
This is for 2000 and,
Yeah, well, it's still there.
still there.
So what, it's for 2015 or 2000?
This is 2015. This is not the prior year, this is the current year.
Okay, so that's fine then.
And since we're out of
My
contract
mistake.
right now, since we're out of contract, the old
Still holds true.
still holds true. And I agree with you, we should remove any hydrant bills. Any other hydrant bills in there?
No, that's the only one I saw.
Town of Eastchester? Okay, so this bill is for $35,000 for 28% of their hydrant cost, and we're going to have to opine with the controller's office or talk to the town and see how we should proceed. Maybe we can write a joint letter to the controller
Yeah.
Speak to council,
or their council,
or our council.
or our council, yeah. I raised it with our council, they thought we always have interesting items. It's a unique problem.
No, there's no bill attached.
So how do we want to do this now? We're just going
We're
to,
going to back that off the proceeds.
right, we're going to cross it out, so.
Yeah, so which one are you dealing with?
That one, the one with the dental. That one.
This is how all the magic happens.
Sorry. Yes, this one. So we are going to pay less. 35,858. Who's got a calculator? I should be able to do this without a calculator.
Put it in a calculator here.
No, that's not right. 5.
Oh, here, I got one. Here.
Here you go. That number minus that number. Okay. After this, we're going to have a short executive session, just to... What's that? Yeah. Who did that?
I did. Okay. 61,000.
What's that for? What's the 61,000 for? Because people are watching at home.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
he's going to announce it.
I'll say it.
That's why I gave it to him.
Okay, so we have two sets of warrants to approve. One is December 23rd, 2014. The board has reviewed the warrants for a total cost on the first set of warrants of $301,996.38. So, and we'll do them both at the same time. We're removing on this, well, we'll do this one because we're removing the town. So can I get approval to have the treasurer pay $301,996, spot 38, for all the warrants that have been reviewed? Mr. Baker?
Aye.
Okay, Stephen Baker and
I'll second it. I guess.
Jerry Napolitano, first. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain because those bills weren't
That's
before
fine.
my commission.
That's fine, that's fine.
I'll abstain on that.
That's fine. Okay. And we have another set of bills where we're removing one bill for $35,858.38. And after removing that bill, we're going to authorize to pay $61,710.20. So I look for a motion to pay the $61,710, and we're removing the $35,858.83. Mr. Baker, you good?
Yes.
Mr.
Yep.
Napolitano? All in favor? Anthony, you want to abstain again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That goes in that pile.
And we need to sign these.
Yeah.
We'll sign them after.
You need to sign.
Let me know. Do it now.
Go down. And so, Any further board member comments, or Anthony, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I have a few comments I want to make. First of all, I want to thank Commissioner O'Hare for letting me take his seat on this board. Commissioner O'Hare served for 15 years diligently here, plus his time as a paid personnel, and he also served this country well while his time in the service. I also want to thank all the people who helped me get elected, especially a lot of the people that were working behind the scenes and all the young people who helped distribute my flyers throughout the town. And they all worked hard, the people behind the scenes as well as the young children that distributed my flyers. I will tell the public I will make no promises, but I will do my best for the town and our two villages, Bronxville and Tuckahoe. And finally, to all the voters who turned out to vote for me or for Mr. Keating on such a rainy and miserable day, I say to all of you, my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you, and especially to my family for putting up with me. And I thank you for your comments, Chief, also. So, for all of the public out there, I'll be here for 5 years, God willing, and I hope to do my best for this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony?
Tony, I welcome you aboard as well.
Thank you.
Board?
Thank you.
Reach out to us for anything you need.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to working with you on the Career Committee, among other things. Like I said, we know each other from military organizations.
Right.
And I know you're going to do a great job, and I'm looking forward to working with you on this other stuff.
Thank you.
While I have the floor, just real quick, I want to make a quick comment on one of the bills we paid tonight. I don't think some people understand how complex this department is. It's a small town, it's a small town atmosphere, but this is it's like a major corporation. Case in point, we paid tonight $172,100.27 for night shift, right? And that's only a quarterly payment. And
It's a monthly payment.
that's a monthly payment?
It's a monthly.
I thought that was a quarterly.
It's monthly.
Okay, even better. So that's over $1 million plus a year.
$1 million. Oh, yeah, because
It did go up this
it's
year.
basically
The
26%
rate
of
did
the
go up.
employee's salary.
Right. And that's, look, and the employees are entitled to it. I'm not complaining about, well, I am complaining about the number, but I get it. It's something we have to do. But it's stuff like that. This is a serious amount of money. It's a lot of equipment. It's a lot of stuff, and it requires a lot of work on our own time. And I know Anthony's going to be big on that. He's got experience on this stuff. That's not where I'm going with this. What I'm saying is it's not a small department anymore. It's really a major corporation. It's a municipal corporation is what it is. So, you know, it really opened my eyes when I started getting into it, and I learn something every day, and I look forward to watching you learn.
Yeah, I misspoke a second ago. It's the retirement system's 20-odd% of the salary, and night shift is probably 6 or 8% or something like that.
And
Yeah.
We always talk about it, I mean, particularly during the election year, for someone to want to come up here, but I mean, our budget, we've said it several times, is larger than the village budget of Tuckahoe or the village budget of Bronxville.
And really, the taxes have not, the fire taxes have not gone, our budget have not gone up that much.
No, the last couple of years, we've been pretty solid
Right.
on our budget line items. And I think next year, the way things are shaping up, we should be coming in flat or close to flat next year, the way this year was run.
Right.
So because you just look back a year and you know how the next year's going to be, hopefully. And a lot of people don't understand what this department is and what the board manages. We manage the chief runs the department. He's the guy he runs the day-to-day operations of a department. Our role is simply to be an administrative, check the accounting type of role. We're not operational. We have 5 firehouses, roughly 75 employees and a couple administrative folks. We have comply with almost every type of regulation under the sun, from vast number of federal and state and local and county regulations. And you can't find about more of them every time. As long as I've been on this board, I still learn new ones that this law you guys have to fall under. You know, we service the community of Bronxville, Eastchester, and Tuckahoe. So people think I don't think there's a full understanding for people in the community what we do and how we're administered. You know, they think the Eastchester Fire District is something in Eastchester, or the folks in Tuckahoe seem to have a better understanding because they just do. The Bronxville folks, I don't know if they have a full understanding what the fire department is. They get an understanding real quick when there's an emergency at their house, and they get, you know, immediate response and we're there pretty quick, and we're very professional. But it's hard to take the time out to understand what this layer of government is. So we're 75 employees, we're 5 firehouses,
Let's not forget the volunteers that.
and you have the volunteer company as
Get
well.
covered under workers' comp and.
They get covered under workers' comp, and they're, and in order to, even if we had a disagreement with a volunteer, they're entitled to civil service protection under Section 75. All employees are covered under civil service protection. There's layers and layers of government. Every time you try to do a simple matter that might be logical to the average person to see, you have to go and deal with the system that's in place, which it's time-consuming. So, Anthony, you'll be thanking your family regularly for letting you do this. Or apologizing, one or the other. That's how it works out.
I mean,
So-
just on cost, I mean, just this evening, we approved $375,000 worth of bills here. So I don't think there's many families, that's a lot of money.
And none of them are new trucks or else.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And
not-
sometimes it gets as high as $600,000 a month.
Yeah.
So to give the public a perspective of the amount of money we're dealing with
December was
every
2
month.
million.
So,
Yeah,
Yeah, December, I think, was 2 million.
yeah, December was $2 million in bills.
right, and that doesn't count payroll,
So,
as the chief said.
yeah, so that's where we are. We're going to adjourn to executive session so we can get some billable hours in from the local lawyer, from the lawyer in Binghamton. And so,
Before we call, Anthony, you want to recognize anybody in the audience?
My fiancee out there, Elizabeth, sitting next to Tom.
well, welcome.
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 Okay, so I look for a motion to adjourn to executive session and wish everybody a happy and healthy 2015.
Stay warm.
And we may come out, I'm not sure if we're going to come out of executive session. I don't know if we
That's
would
all
need to.
over there.
Yeah, I doubt we're going to.
I'll make the motion to go to executive.
And second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.